Hello, the following is a 15-minute presentation of my research for a small-scale curriculum development project investigating digital badges as an adjunct to teaching and learning activities. So to start with an introduction, I'm a senior teaching fellow. I began with the University of Portsmouth in 2017. I teach in the business and law faculty, specifically in the marketing department, and I specialise in teaching digital marketing. Now my background is actually in marketing. I've been in a marketing role sort of in and out for the last 20 years, and as a teacher I have a specific interest in technology enhanced learning, so all things technology really. So for my small-scale curriculum development project, I wanted to explore the value of digital badges as an educational technology adjunct to support students with their learning and with developing skills. So I wanted to gain students' perspectives on how to best design a badging system. So the title for my small-scale curriculum project and the article written for it was Designing a Digital Badge System in a Disrupted Era. So exploring the affordances of digital badges from a student perspective, as we are in a very disrupted era for our sort of learning environments. So let's have a look at the journey, how it began, what the research sort of findings were, looking at some limitations and benefits and the wider applicability. So how did I get here? Now, I started with a question, or rather questions. I wanted to know how I could help students who are not doing so well in their assessments. For those students who have not drawn the dots between their active role in their learning and their assessment outcome, how can I help those students who are used to perhaps being told, memorise this, write exactly that, who are now in HE and are expected to self-organise and problem solve and be independent learners. So I was looking at Moodle logs and I noticed that those students who are not doing well in their assessments were also those students who are not engaging with the recorded lectures, with the worksheets and activities and reading lists that we put on Moodle. So I began with a literature review, first of all broadly exploring technology enhanced learning, and then I came across theories such as gamification, competition-based learning, and how the use of game-based adjuncts could actually help with engagement, and how sometimes competition-based learning, whether it's self-competition or competition with others, can also help with engagement. And this eventually led me to explore digital badges as an adjunct to higher education, teaching and learning activities. So what exactly are digital badges? So just to give you a little background, they are a micro-credentialing system. They were originally developed in 2010 by the Mozilla Foundation, and the idea is that employers, non-for-profits and education institutes can reward employees, volunteers, etc. for the skills they've developed, for the knowledge they've developed, for the competencies they've developed with digital badges. And those digital badges are exportable. They can be exported to social media profiles such as LinkedIn, or they can be placed as a link in a CV, or perhaps they can be put on a personal profile website or an e-portfolio. So the idea is it provides visibility, so employers can actually see the skills that people have gained, and the idea is it's to encourage lifelong learning and to help people as they develop throughout their life, volunteering, working and studying. So there's a lot of research that indicates a positive relationship between introducing digital badges to learning systems and students' motivation. And some theorists posit that that might be because of extrinsic motivation, so users competition with others, so they're interested in being the best or seeing how they're doing vis-a-vis other people, and also to gain recognition, so for the reward element. Other theorists posit that it might be due to intrinsic motivation, in that the badges themselves make the course more interesting, and also that the badges help to structure learning. So they help to organise tasks, they provide feedback on how that person is progressing with their learning journey. So it's an intrinsic motivation. So this set me wondering whether I could perhaps prove or test the motivations theory, so we understand why students are more likely to participate in digital badging activities, and sort of perhaps whether it's because the digital digital badging activities add intrinsic value to the course, or perhaps it appeals to people or students that have an achievement goal approach to learning that they want to master for the value of their own satisfaction, or perhaps because they want to perform better than others. So I thought perhaps I could actually test these methods. Now, the problem being, I would have to develop a survey with sufficient sort of questions to try to gauge individual students' learning approach and also gauge their perception of the intrinsic value of the course, both at the beginning and at the end, and then compare that data with those students that did and those students that did not engage with digital badge activities. So that was actually quite complicated. I sort of, having had some feedback from the team, which was very useful, and reflected on that feedback, I realised also that there could be some ethical considerations having to code each student so I could match their response with their engagement data, and also the challenge of obtaining sufficient responses for the results to be generalisable. And also I really sort of reflected to myself, what's the value to students? If I can test that digital badges are impact motivation because of extrinsic motivation value, would that really help students? So I decided to pursue a different direction because of the value and the complications. So my final iteration was actually using students' insights to develop a badging system that was beneficial for them. So I could find out by asking students what their opinions were about activity completion badges as a method for structuring their learning, for developing deeper understanding of academic topics. I could ask them what they thought of activity completion badges for developing industry-specific skills, or perhaps whether they'd like to be awarded a badge by a teacher for observed competencies like soft skills or communication skills. So the methodology, it's definitely a pragmatist approach, as I had to focus on what would work, especially given the effects of the pandemic on teaching and the students' availability for face-to-face research. It was definitely action research, as I wanted to solve a problem. I wanted to improve the curriculum, especially given the sudden challenges to learning that the students were facing with less face-to-face time and more independent learning. And it was definitely mixed methods, as I'll explain in just a moment as I talk about the research method. So the research method, I had a class, a level 5 class, so second years, 38 students in the class, 35 participated in the research. They were studying social media marketing, a 20 credit unit module, and they were participating in the digital marketing undergraduate course. So I gave a synchronous live online presentation introducing badges as a concept and sort of giving some background, as I have done today. And then I invited students to participate and provide their responses via an anonymous online survey tool called Vvox. So students could actually give me, they could rate badges designed in a certain way, or they could give me their open-ended qualitative responses to questions. So I used both like scale questions and open-ended. There were 14 questions, 10 like and 4 qualitative. And finally, in my research, I used 7 of those questions, 3 like and 4 qualitative. So just a couple of examples of the questions and also a discussion of the findings. One of the questions was, how do you feel about activity completion as a way to earn badges, inviting opinions, questions and concerns. And one of the interesting themes that emerged was motivation, so beneficial to learning, motivation, task focus and assessment benefit as sub-themes. So students felt that this could be really useful for helping them focus on the task in hand, or do well in assignments, or to perhaps help before big assignments. So some really interesting themes emerged. Another theme was around workload concerns. So students were asking or saying that if this was an addition to workload required for assessments, it wouldn't be as much value, or students might not be interested. So from this I could really understand that to design a good activity-based program, the badges must be aligned with the learning that's required for assessed submissions. So in terms of actually looking at how many responses, so benefit to learning, there were 5 responses that indicated motivation, 3 for task completion, and 3 thought that this particular method could support them in assessment success, 4 responses for concern about workload, and actually 3 about questioning the vulnerability of the system to cheating, as students are likely to look up the answers online. So again, another design consideration that it would have to be robust against cheating. Now, asking the students about teacher award as a badge system, how they'd feel about being awarded a badge for observed competencies. Again, motivation came up, but particularly this time, there was a couple of responses, 3 in total, about being more motivated to get involved in class, in lectures, in seminars and in groups. So that was really interesting that this particular method would motivate students to actually participate more in face-to-face activities. A very strong theme occurred around external recognition. Students wanted to know, would employers value or recognise these badges? Also, some students thought they would look very credible and be able to help tell a story about what they're good at, what skills they've developed. Another theme was around fairness. They wanted to know whether teachers would always notice. Would it be fair across teachers, across groups, fair between students? So this is, again, another important design consideration that came out of the research. So just a quick overview of the number of responses coded under each theme to give you some overview. Now, moving on to the like questions and the quantitative data. So in terms of activity completion badges as being valid for supporting specific engagement in academic sort of learning, students felt this type of badge would be valuable, with 25 responses in this category. Now, with highly valuable having an integer of 5, and not valuable at all, having an integer of 1, this particular question had a mean of 4.17. Now, in terms of activity completion badges for developing industry-specific skills, so like copywriting or SEO for these particular students, skills they need in the workplace, students found this highly valuable. So 22 respondents responded highly valuable, and this particular question had a mean average response of 4.6. So again, adding that qualitative data, if we were going to develop a program of activity completion badges for discipline-specific skills and engagement in academic activity, it mustn't add to existing workload, so it must be aligned to graded assessments and also robust against cheating. Now, in terms of teacher awarded benefit badges for soft skills, the response to the like question again was highly valuable, with 17 respondents in this category and a mean of 4.4. So again, students found that this particular badge could be motivating for in-person engagement, highly valuable for external recognition, but value hinges on recognition from employers, and the system must be fair. So overall research conclusions from this, the insights from the study confirm and expand on my understanding of digital badge design from the extant literature, that digital badges offer value in supporting learners as milestones in visibility, so Zimmerman's theory of a self-regulated learning. Digital badges also add value for graduates to show their employability skills, the soft skills that they developed, but graduates will only be motivated to earn these if employers value these, and again that agrees with the existing research. And finally, digital badges have a definite role in integrating the development of these skills within the curriculum. So personally, what I've learned from the research is that badging systems, or perhaps any sort of significant system, will be designed much better with consultation of key stakeholders, and students are key stakeholders in the learning journey. So having their insights has helped tremendously and given me lots of ideas to work on. And yeah, so students provide very valuable ideas. In terms of weakness and limitations, it was a small sample. It was only 35 students. A large sample if the class is the population, but in terms of its generalizability to broader higher education population, a very small sample indeed. So perhaps a larger study along similar lines could be undertaken in the future. Also, as I was the student's teacher, my relationship with them as the teacher may have influenced their responses. If they liked me, they may have had positive responses. If they didn't like me, that may have made them influence them to respond in a more negative nature. So further research, one of the projects that I came across when undertaking research for this curriculum development project was a project called GRASS, which is Grading for Assessment Soft Skills, developed by Davidic et al. And it's a big program. It's the idea of, can we develop a system that develops consistency, a well-defined, open and expandable set of soft skill metrics are available to all teachers so they can periodically sample, observe and measure. And a system like this could help us at the University of Portsmouth support students develop soft skills from the first year to level 7 across different modules, and perhaps come back and sort of repeat and build on previous skills sort of iteratively, so they can continue to develop and deepen those skills. And also for the students' benefit, do employers value badges? This is another area. There's lots of research around what skills graduate employers value, but there is not so much literature around how do students actually evidence those skills, how do they actually communicate those skills to potential employers. So some research in that area could help the badging program and also add to the body of literature. Impact for the project: departmental benefit, so contributing research-based knowledge on module design for the learners. The fourth qualitative question was around their feelings about being involved in curriculum design. 19 students answered positive with responses such as wonderful, I like it a lot, some really interesting insights around their feelings about getting involved in curriculum development. University benefit, so again, going back to that multi-stakeholder informed approach, if we could actually develop something university-wide that helps students on all courses develop soft skills, transferable skills for their future employment. I've learned an awful lot in terms of my personal development, lots of different learning theory, lots about educational technology, and lots about how to go about designing and developing a sort of curriculum enhancement project. And hopefully we can benefit our graduates too if we can help them evidence some of their skills and support their learning while they're at university. So thank you for your time. Here is my reference list, and I look forward to receiving any feedback and questions on my submission.